Hi, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to this new episode of the Rise Up Radio. And today we have Nathan Tanner with us. Nathan, welcome to the Rise Up Radio. It's really special to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Very good to be here, Ashish.
Awesome. So, folks, if you don't know Nathan, so a brief about him, and he's going to talk more about himself just briefly. So, Nathan is the founder of 824 Ventures, which is an executive coaching and leadership development firm. Prior to starting this venture of his own, he has been an accomplished HR professional, been involved in setting up the HR function at DoorDash and also worked with companies like Google, Electronic Arts, LinkedIn, P&G, and so many others. Right, Nathan?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. And he's also an author of the book, and it's called The Unconquerable Leader. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today with you, Nathan, about the book as well. Awesome. So,
Sounds great.
folks, I'm Ashish. I'm the founder and CEO of Risely. Risely is an AI co-pilot for leadership development. But today's topic is adjacent to leadership development, but slightly different. We're going to listen to Nathan about his leadership journey, about some of the mistakes that he made. What could he have avoided had he got some better, guidance and support during his early days as a manager, and then his experience of building other leaders in the organization that he has been associated with. So, Nathan, I'm really excited about learning about your experiences. But before we get there, would love to know a little bit about you, your profile. So, if you can take us through your journey a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, this will be a really fun one for me, Ashish, because I joined DoorDash as a first-time manager. I had a little bit of experiences here and there, but the first time kind of fully in that role, and I was responsible for supporting other
Other
managers.
managers.
So I'm kind of, in a sense, figuring out some of this for myself while I'm helping others do the same. But yeah, so started my career in investment banking. I was at Lehman Brothers in 2008 when they imploded. First job out of college. Really
What a
pivotal
start.
moment for me.
What a start.
Yes, it was a rough moment. Was out
Yeah.
of work for an extended period of time, so a lot of empathy for those who may be looking for work or underemployed,
Right.
and made a pivot to the HR world, which just was a real blessing in my life and something that was a good fit. And for the last 3 years now, have been a full-time executive coach, where I
Hmm.
work primarily with CEOs and other executives, helping them to do their job more effectively. On the
Hmm.
personal side, I live in Utah, in the U.S., and married, have 4 kids, so that keeps me busy. And anyway, really excited to dive in together.
And you do triathlons for fun.
I do, yes. Fun is a weird word. I do genuinely enjoy them, and sometimes they're fun. Sometimes they're not fun, but I do enjoy them.
Yeah, let's keep it at that. Awesome. So Nathan, well, a very drastic career change from finance to HR, but more importantly, I think you have been part of a very, very major growth journey, right? At DoorDash, 5 rounds of funding, IPO, growing from 250 people to 5,000. Uh, but in general, was that the highlight of your career or something else the highlight of your career? What would you categorize as that, this was the moment of my professional life so far?
Yeah, this was a really pivotal moment. It's hard to nail down a specific thing, but it was a really pivotal moment for me. And so, and a big decider was actually going out and deciding that I wanted to work at a place like DoorDash. So I
Hmm.
was at LinkedIn, and
Hmm.
LinkedIn is a remarkable company.
Hmm.
I did not feel like I was growing at the rate that I wanted to. I
Hmm.
felt just very comfortable,
Hmm.
and I was like, you know, comfort is not the number one thing I'm optimizing for in my
Yeah.
career. I am
Hmm.
looking to to grow and be challenged. And so this opportunity came to join DoorDash,
Mm,
which at the time DoorDash was looking to hire a chief people officer, someone much more senior than I was,
mm,
but was
mm.
struggling to hire that person. And I was given an opportunity to come in
Yeah,
and run the team for a period. And so it was one of those moments, Ashish, that's be careful what you wish for because you
yep,
might get it. Uh, and I got everything that I wanted and more. And
mm,
it was very overwhelming because I was doing a lot of things that I hadn't done for the first time.
yeah.
But yeah, it was really really great experience, and we can go more into that.
Awesome. So, you mentioned that DoorDash was the first time that you became a manager, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. And I ask this question to everyone whenever I am talking about their leadership journeys, right? What was it like? I know it's really exciting to become a manager for the first time because you suddenly get power in a way. So some people, get a sense that, hey, you know what, I'm growing. I have a team of my own now and I can, make charge. What was it like for you? Were you scared? Were you looking forward to it? Were you excited? Tell us about it.
Yes, yeah, the opportunity to jump into a manager role was one of the things that was really attractive
Mm,
about it, because I knew that I would learn so much in it.
mm.
And so I had managed interns before. I had some people management experience
Yeah.
in a sense in the past. But this was really it. I guess another thing too is working in HR. A big part of my responsibility was developing leaders.
Yeah.
And so from a little bit of a distance, I had been, kind of advising and coaching and helping managers. But now I was in this role where I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
And that is a very, very different burden than when you're, coaching or advising someone through it. And so, yeah,
Right.
it was an exciting time. It was overwhelming in a sense. But yeah, I've learned a lot of things along the way.
Right. So, before you became a manager and after you became a manager, right? Did you have a perception going into that role, and then did that perception change, or did some new realities come into light and that, hey, okay, I didn't know that, manager was supposed to do this also.
Yeah, I for me the biggest challenge I felt was it wasn't my role, and I think this is the biggest challenge many managers face.
Mm,
You
mm,
don't just step into a manager role and
mm,
now, I'm leading from a distance and I just help people do their work.
mm.
Usually there's a lot of individual contributor work that you're still responsible for
Correct.
doing. Like if you're a
Correct.
new engineering manager, you're probably like expected to still write a lot of code.
Correct.
And now you
Correct.
have all these like extra manager responsibilities on top of
Correct.
it. And so for me, that was like the real challenge of, I still almost had like a full-time job of like
Yeah.
tasks that I was responsible for doing myself. And
Mm,
then on top of that, I had to help other people and coach them and I was accountable for their results. And that I think is what a lot of people don't expect when stepping
mm,
into manager roles
mm.
is yeah, usually you're doing a lot of different work at the time,
Correct.
not just being a pure people manager.
Correct. It's not all about delegation, right? You're just not handing tasks and expecting
Correct.
results primarily.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Nathan, tell us, did you end up making some mistakes as a new manager?
I did not. No, I'm kidding. Yes, yes, a lot of mistakes. What one of the big mistakes that I made is I didn't ask for help more.
Mm,
And some of this was because I was responsible for the HR department. I was
mm.
very self-conscious that I needed to know everything. And I
Oh, okay.
felt like I needed to do a lot of these things myself.
Mm,
At first, I was not a very good delegator.
mm,
Um, and it was because like I didn't want to hand off something if I didn't know how to do it myself. Um, I didn't do a good job of using, external advisors
Yeah.
as well. Part of my responsibility was running compensation. Um, and I'm like, well, I'm not a comp expert, but like I need to be. So I have to
Mm.
do this all myself. Where other leaders would have said, oh, okay, I'm not a comp expert. Like, let's go hire an advisor
Yeah.
to come in.
Right. Right.
That was a big miss. Another mistake, and this is something I've seen in others as well since, is I did not act soon enough when it became clear that there was an underperformer on my team.
I've heard this many times.
I I hoped that things would get better on their own. I hoped that they would be able to turn things around.
Yeah.
I'm an
Yeah.
optimist, and I let that go on for too long, and it
Yeah.
wasn't. And I didn't realize the impact that it would have on so many other people on the team. And
Yeah.
that I think is the real missed opportunity when we do
Yeah.
that is, other people are like, oh, Nathan,
Yeah.
he's letting this other person underperform. Maybe
Right.
I should. Why am I working so hard? And
Right.
and getting in front of people and challenges and having those hard conversations
Yeah.
I think become really important, and
Right.
it's a muscle that managers need to
Right.
learn.
Correct, correct. So Nathan, let's say I give you a time machine, right? And you could go back in time and whisper something, in Nathan's ears, all those years back, right? How would you prepare
Yes.
better? How would you make him prepare well for that role? What skills or competencies would you tell him that, hey, why don't you develop these and these would help you become better in your role?
Yeah. Two things. One is learning to give difficult feedback. And I, people who are listening to this podcast are probably maybe rolling their eyes and they're like, yes, I've heard this lots of times. The reality is it's just really, really hard.
Yeah.
And there are tools that can frameworks that can be helpful, but like having the courage and the skills, it's a combination, the courage and the skills to give difficult feedback. That
Hmm.
is where I wish I would have built that muscle early on.
Hmm.
And then the second piece is being able to delegate work
Hmm.
and hold people accountable.
Hmm.
It's just really uncomfortable to give someone work and say, "Hey, Ashish, I need you to, complete this work by this date." And then how do you hold them? How do you hold them accountable?
Correct.
What if they don't do it? How do you respond? And so these are skills that I've certainly learned over the years, and I work with leaders on. But like those are the two things that really stand out for me.
Foundational, right? I mean, there's a lot of expectation setting that comes with delegation as well, and making sure that you're able to provide feedback when they're not able to do it as well, right?
Yeah, and we might not be able to get into them right now, but this is why in my book I have dedicated two entire chapters to giving feedback. I've
Awesome.
dedicated an entire chapter to delegation and accountability
Yeah.
and the how to doing it because like these are skills, and with any skills we can get better at them
Correct.
and
Correct.
learn them. I think one of the myths
Correct.
of leadership is we think that some people are just born natural leaders and
Bang
they're
on, which is not the case.
these are automatic for them, but like
Correct.
no, these are skills, and it it,
Correct.
it takes time, and
Correct.
that's okay.
No, absolutely right. And Nathan, in my experience, what I've seen, especially with new managers, is when they give feedback, they're either too soft or too hard, right? They basically go in extremes. They don't know how to give constructive feedback properly, which is, making sure that you're taking care of the individual while also making sure that your message is being heard as well. And it's a skill that is learned over a period of time by making mistakes, by practicing over and over and over again, right? It's a muscle
Absolutely.
memory that you need to build as you go on. Let's go back to your book. You touched upon that, The Unconquerable Leader. And in your book, you have basically talked about two aspects, the internal game and the external game for managers, right? So let's talk about the internal game first. Uh, I have seen that most managers either dealing with the internal game as, again, in extremes. Either they're dealing with imposter syndrome, which is, hey, am I good enough to be a manager? Or on the other side, the way you took up managerial position, which is, I like to call it super person syndrome, which is, hey, you know what? I need to know everything. I can do everything. I need to have all the answers with me, right? Do you think managers typically struggle? And what is the internal game? Is it lying on this spectrum or something else?
Yeah, so the way I think of the internal game is that it's all of the things that impact how we lead
Hmm.
and how we show up,
Hmm.
but other people don't see. So it's our self-doubt or self-confidence. It's the imposter syndrome that we may feel. It's dealing with ego,
Hmm.
becoming more emotionally and
Hmm.
mentally resilient. And so to your point of like, if there's a spectrum of imposter syndrome on one side or the super person syndrome on the other side, I certainly see those extremes.
Hmm.
Personally, I fall more on the imposter syndrome
Hmm.
generally.
Okay.
Um, and I have desires. There are moments where maybe I feel that super person syndrome,
Hmm.
and I've always been very ambitious, and I've wanted to like do
Yep.
big things and important things and have a big impact. But it's more of I like the challenge than I think I'm you know better than everyone else
Yeah.
or some super person. So I actually start my book by sharing a very personal experience of when I was at DoorDash and
Hmm.
everything just felt like it was crashing down on me. Of I was overwhelmed at work, my health was suffering, relationships were suffering, all of that. And so, I throughout the book, I provide a lot of specific approaches on how to master the internal game, kind of
Yeah.
overcome those challenges. And it
Right.
starts with taking control of the story
Hmm.
that we tell ourselves and how we
Right.
talk to ourselves
Right.
and setting a clear vision. And then there's tools around breathing and gratitude and the power of walks, as well as tools for managing anger. And so I've found this is really because the external game, which we can get to, these are kind of tactical skills that you can learn and overcome.
Right.
That internal game is, I don't think it's something that we ever overcome. We're
Right.
always on that spectrum of,
That's right.
am I good enough,
Right.
or wow, I think I'm way better than others. So
So awesome. I'm not gonna ask you to tell us all the tools in the book. For that, folks, you have to read the book. Go and buy a copy and read the book. But if you can give our audience one situation and probably one tool that they can take away from this conversation, I think that would be really insightful and helpful for them.
yes, yeah. For me, I will start with the power of storytelling.
Okay.
The most important story that we will ever tell is the story we tell ourselves.
Hmm.
And we can change that story. And this is like, can I, I'm not a very good leader, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever. We tell ourselves a lot of these garbage
Correct.
stories. We change
Correct.
that. And so the first step is identifying the story that we don't want to tell anymore.
Hmm.
It's just kind of calling that out.
Right.
The second step is, what is the new story that you want to tell?
Hmm.
Okay, I can be an effective manager. And then the third step is going out and finding evidence
Hmm.
that supports that new story. Because you can't just look in the mirror and say, like, I'm awesome, I got this, you're the man, you're the woman, whatever it is. That doesn't work. Confidence comes from taking action. And so you can
Yeah.
start taking little things of like,
Correct.
I can be a good manager because, I listen to this podcast. I can be a good manager because I'm going to, learn the SBI framework for giving
Yeah.
difficult feedback, which is a tool I talk about in the book.
Hmm.
And so anyway, those are the three steps. One is identifying that story we no longer want to tell.
Yep.
Two, creating the new story, and then three, identifying evidence that supports that new story.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. That's really insightful. So, Nathan, let's talk about the external game now. And I'm sure the internal game impacts a lot, how we present ourselves to the external world or people see or perceive us from the outside, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if the internal game is all of the things that impact how we lead and how we show up that others don't see. The external game is how others see us and how people see the individual or the leader that is showing up.
Mm,
And so this is where we get into tactical leadership skills. This is where
mm,
we get into training. This is giving difficult feedback, as we've
mm.
discussed. It's delegation and
Yep.
accountability. It's setting clear expectations. It's managing underperformers. It's incentivizing and motivating your team. It's how do we coach
Mm,
and develop the people on our team. And so a lot of this actually gets to the manager development courses I implemented when I was
right.
at DoorDash. And have since built it at other companies. And like I said, these are tactical skills that all of us can learn to become better
Right.
people managers.
Right. Cool. So let's talk about some of these the development programs that you built at DoorDash, right? Now we know the skills that you probably would target for new managers, right? But how do you go about structuring such a program and making sure that the learners, managers who are basically first-time managers are understanding what their blind spots are? How can they go from point A to point B and become better at people management through this development program?
Absolutely. And so much of it depends on where you're starting at. When I
Hmm.
joined DoorDash, there were 250 employees.
Hmm.
We had, I don't know, 40, 50 managers maybe. There
Yep.
was no training or development for any of the people managers.
Right.
Well, I think that the CEO, Tony, would every couple of months share learnings that he had had
Yeah.
as a leader. He was the founder and CEO, but there was such a thirst for growth and development. And for me, I kicked off a monthly series. I'm like, we're just going to do this
Okay.
once a month. We'll
Hmm.
all meet together. We'll pick a topic. I'll
Hmm.
study it and get really smart on it. And then I'll share it with you and we'll discuss how we can learn from this. And so we
Got it.
started with how do we have effective one-on-ones
Hmm.
with the team, which was critical. How do we give difficult feedback? A lot of the topics that I think of in the
Yeah.
external game. And
Right.
that was phase one, was just building the foundation
Hmm.
in this monthly workshop. The second phase was then we would do a fireside. We would bring
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
experienced, respected managers
Hmm.
and have them do these roundtables.
Yeah.
It was like a Q&A. People would ask questions, and these managers would answer them. And it was really, really powerful. So it wasn't
Yeah.
just the HR guy sharing. It
Correct.
was leaders who were respected across the
Correct.
company, helping them think through kind of more ambiguous topics.
Correct.
And then the third step was creating a course that all new hires and all new people managers went through. And it was like,
Right.
this is how we do things at DoorDash. And
Right.
so, anyway, those were kind of the three steps that I took
Very nice.
to achieve that.
Right. I think this would have worked beautifully at the early stages when probably the company was at 250 employees or maybe 500 employees. But do you think such a model can scale once the company goes beyond 2,000, 3,000 people? Can this model be scaled, or you need some different hybrid approach to be able to scale this up?
Yeah, I don't think it works the same way when you get to 5,000 employees. Because let's say at 5,000 employees, you have, I don't know, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people managers at the company,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of this is that the team was small enough that people could ask questions
Correct.
and work together. And so, yeah, you have to adapt. We ultimately brought in outside learning tools that people, self-paced courses that people could reference. We
Yeah.
had recorded all those sessions so people could go back and watch them. But you definitely need to adjust, and that is the real challenge that I actually wasn't ready for as we grew as a company. everything just gets more difficult
Yep.
when you have more employees. You
Correct.
need systems that scale and processes that scale
Absolutely.
and kind of the one-off decisions or programs, they don't work. And so
Hmm.
you need to be really thoughtful about like how that's going to be
Hmm.
implemented.
Awesome. Cool. Now, let's touch upon the very, very hot topic that we all have today, AI, right? With AI coming in, the meaning of leadership is evolving, and it's evolving not only because of AI coming in, but I think the overall construct of the workplace is changing itself, right? You have hybrid workforce, you have remote workforce coming in, you have multi generations of employees working together. And on top of that, you have technology changing our job descriptions, basically, right? And managers are increasingly becoming more and more under pressure to leverage AI to increase productivity themselves and their teams. What do you think AI is doing for managers and their roles?
One of the challenges that I had this conversation with former leader at DoorDash.
Hmm.
Like, what was your biggest challenge as a manager? And
Hmm.
for him, he said there was so much manager content that was out there.
Yeah.
What he really needed is like when he was in a specific situation or a challenge, he
Hmm.
needed like real time answers and real time support there. He couldn't remember something that was taught
Yeah.
at a manager training
Correct.
18 months before. And this
Correct.
is where I think AI can be really powerful
Yeah.
of like I use ChatGPT all of the time and just
Hmm.
have conversations of like, hey,
Hmm.
here's a challenge that I'm facing, or I have this
Hmm.
idea, or
Yep.
here's a scenario. And I think managers can use AI almost as a coach. You know, if you have
Correct.
access to a coach, great. But if you don't, use AI as a coach and like just put in the challenge that you're having, put in the
Yep.
situation, and I think you can get some really good advice. Granted, some of that advice may be off.
Yep.
You want to sanity check that, maybe
Yep.
bounce it off your manager or someone else.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but anyway, that is my favorite use of AI is just going to it
Yeah.
with problems, challenges that are in
Right.
front of me, and using that as that first filter for support because I think the answers can be really, really good.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. And that's where I think I'm going to do a shameless plug. AI coach inside Risely comes right into picture because that's the entire job of that AI coach is, which is to scale and help every manager in real time for the challenges and issues that they're facing at that particular point of time. There you have it.
Absolutely. I wish I had that tool when I were a people manager.
Awesome. Cool. Nathan, this was a fun chat. It's not over yet. We're just heading towards the end of our chat. So I have a few rapid fire questions. I'm just going to throw them at you.
Okay.
Be as brief as possible. So first question. When you hire somebody in your team, what is the one quality that they must definitely have?
Ooh, the one thing they have, honesty. I need people
Okay.
who are going to who talk straight to me. Um, I think so many things can be learned, but like honesty, integrity is essential.
High five. I agree. Right. So what is the one quality that you definitely would not hire for?
One quality I definitely would not hire for.
Or you would basically
I mean,
say that if you find that out, you'll reject the candidate outrightly.
yeah, it's the flip side of that. If I think they're cutting corners, if I don't think they're telling me the truth,
Okay,
or that's it for sure.
got it. Apart from your book, obviously, what other book that new managers should definitely read?
If I may add two, one of them
Okay,
is Multipliers by Liz Wiseman.
okay,
Just a great way of thinking about leadership. And the second is The Coaching Habit,
okay,
an excellent book for coaching skills as a people manager.
got it. Cool. Last one, not last one. I have one more. If feedback was a dish, what dish would it be?
Vegetables. Some say it would be yeah, some sort of vegetable dish which tastes like just okay, but is the healthiest thing you could eat. Maybe it's my green smoothie I drink in the morning.
More like broccoli, sauteed broccoli.
Broccoli. There you go. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Let's say you're stuck on an island. Which leader, fictional, historic, would you want to have with you on that island? You're all alone. The only person you can have is that leader.
Oh, good question. No, Nolan Church. He's the head of recruiting at DoorDash. He's the best. He'd have my back 100%.
All right. And one leader that you definitely would not want to have. It's a controversial one, but you have to answer.
Okay. When I worked in investment banking, there were a bunch of terrible leaders.
Okay.
There were some good ones, but most of them were pretty bad.
Okay.
And I don't want to name any names, but
Sure.
it would be someone from the investment banking days.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you, Nathan. This was really insightful and fun for me. I hope it was fun for you as well.
I loved it. Thank you, Ashish. And yeah, hopefully if you want to reach out, we'd love to hear from folks on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, folks. Nathan is really approachable. Just ping him on LinkedIn. He's going to accept your invite and definitely, coach you and mentor you. So don't hesitate to reach out to him and definitely go and buy his book and give it a read. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure conversation. And folks, you take care till I see you next time with a new episode of the Rise Up Radio. Till then, you folks take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.